Title: My own son sent me a text that read, "You're not invited to dinner. My wife doesn't want you there." I stared at those words, my hands trembling, and in that moment, I made a silent promise. He was about to learn what it really meant to cut me out. He thought a text could push me aside. He had no idea what was coming next. Before we dive in, if you're listening from your city, country, hit subscribe for more stories like this. Like if you'd stand your ground, comment your move, and share this with someone who needs to hear it. 68 years old, a retired nurse who spent more than 40 years caring for others in hospitals, in my neighborhood, and most of all, in my own family. When my husband passed away 12 years ago, my son Ethan became my entire world. I was there for every milestone, his graduation, his first apartment, his wedding day. I paid for most of it without thinking twice. When Ethan and his wife Marissa bought their first house, I handed him the keys and said, "Now you'll always have a home." I covered the down payment and even took care of a few repairs that popped up along the way. If the roof leaked, I paid the roofer. If the oven broke, I ordered a brand new one. I told myself it was just what mothers did for their children. For years, I thought we were close. Sunday dinners at my place, holiday traditions, little weekend visits where Marissa would show me her new recipes or home decor finds. But then, the visits grew fewer. Texts went unanswered for days. When I did see them, there were hushed conversations between the two. Quick glances when they thought I wasn't looking. I brushed it off at first. They're just busy, I told myself. Young couples need space. But in the pit of my stomach, there was a feeling of quiet, gnawing unease I tried to ignore. I didn't know it then. But that unease was the first crack in the life I thought we shared, a crack that would split wide open one evening. It was a Friday evening in early spring. The air smelled faintly of rain, and I was carrying a warm casserole dish wrapped in a tea towel, Ethan's favorite cheesy chicken bake. We'd spoken earlier in the week about dinner together, so I thought nothing of heading to their house. Halfway there, my phone buzzed in my bag at a red light. I pulled it out and saw Ethan's name. It was a text, just one short message. "You're not invited to dinner. My wife doesn't want you there." At first, I thought it was a joke. My fingers hovered over the screen as I typed. "Haha, very funny. I'm 5 minutes away." No reply. When I arrived, the porch light was off. I climbed the steps and knocked. The door opened just a crack, and there was Marissa, arms crossed. "This isn't a good night, Laura," she said flatly. "Ethan's inside," I asked, peering past her shoulder. "He agrees with me," she said, and the way her lips curled into the faintest smile told me she wasn't bluffing. The casserole felt heavy in my hands. Heavier than it had any right to be. I could hear muffled laughter from the dining room. They were eating without me. I swallowed hard, my throat tight. "I see," I whispered, and in that moment, I did see everything I'd been avoiding. Mini cliffhanger. That night, I didn't just drive home. I drove straight toward a plan that would change everything. I didn't sleep that night. The casserole dish sat untouched on the passenger seat as I drove home, its warmth fading just like the years of memories I thought were unbreakable. When I got inside, I placed it on the counter and stared at it for a long time. My hands shook, not from sadness anymore, but from something colder, sharper. I walked into my study, switched on the lamp, and pulled out a thick leather-bound folder from the bottom drawer. This was my just-in-case file: mortgage papers, loan agreements, bank statements. Every cent I had poured into Ethan and Marissa's life was documented in black and white. I flipped through page after page, feeling the anger solidify into resolve. The mortgage. My name on the initial loan. Car payments. My automatic transfers every month. Even the kitchen renovation they bragged about on social media, that was me too. They wanted distance. They'd get it, but not the way they thought. At 2 a.m., I opened my laptop and logged into my bank accounts. One by one, I canceled the auto payments, the mortgage, the utilities, the car insurance. It felt almost surgical, snipping the invisible threads that had been holding their comfortable life together. Each click was a small, satisfying victory. The next morning, I made my second move. I called my lawyer, Mr. Blake. He'd been a family friend for decades. The kind of man who didn't ask too many questions until it was time to get serious. "Laura," he said, his voice warm as always, "what can I do for you?" "I need to update my will and make a few changes to my trust." Urgently. I could almost hear his eyebrows raise on the other end, but he didn't press. "Come in at 10 a.m. By lunchtime, my will was rewritten. Every asset, every penny, was rerouted away from Ethan and Marissa. In their place, I added one name, Lily. Lily is my granddaughter from Ethan's first marriage, a sweet, thoughtful girl who'd always gone out of her way to spend time with me. Even after Ethan remarried, she would drop by for tea, bring me flowers from her garden, and tell me about her college plans. She never treated me like a burden. That afternoon, Lily texted me out of the blue. "Grandma, are you okay? Dad's acting weird. He said you're overreacting about something." I stared at the message, my lips curling into the faintest smile. Finally, an ally. We met for coffee the next day. I told her everything, the text, the locked door, the years of financial support. Her face tightened as I spoke. "They don't deserve you," she said, her voice trembling with anger. "Tell me what I can do." For the first time in days, I felt lighter. Not happy, but purposeful. This wasn't just about hurt feelings anymore. It was about reclaiming my dignity. Lily offered to keep me informed about what was happening. In their house, I can visit them and just listen, she said. "If they talk about you, I'll know. Be careful," I warned. "I will," she replied, her eyes glinting. "But Grandma, you should be ready. They're not going to take this quietly." She was right. I knew Ethan. He wouldn't just watch his comfortable life unravel. He'd fight. And I was ready for that fight. As I drove home, I realized something. I wasn't the weak, heartbroken mother they thought I was. I was the woman who had built their safety net, and I was about to pull it away. Mini cliffhanger. The first thread had been cut. The rest would follow, and when they did, Ethan and Marissa's world would come crashing down. It didn't take long for the first ripple to reach me. 2 days after I cut the payments, my phone rang. Ethan's name flashed across the screen. For a moment, I almost didn't answer. But curiosity got the better of me. "Mom," he started, his voice calm but clipped. "I just saw the mortgage payment didn't go through. Was that a mistake?" "No, Ethan, that was intentional." A long pause. Then, "You're being dramatic. This isn't how family treats each other." I let out a humorless laugh. "Funny. That's exactly what I was thinking last Friday night." Click, the line went dead. The next day, Marissa showed up unannounced. She stood on my porch in her expensive coat. Her arms folded like a queen come to lecture a servant. "You're punishing the whole family," she said, her voice dripping with indignation. "Is that really the example you want to set?" I leaned against the door frame. "I'm setting an example that boundaries matter, and so does respect." Her eyes narrowed. "You can't just cut us off." "Watch me," I replied, and closed the door. I thought that might be the end of it, but then came the ambush. One quiet Sunday afternoon, I spotted 3 cars pulling into my driveway. My stomach tightened as Ethan stepped out of the first one, followed by Marissa, her parents, and even her brother. It was a full battalion. I met them at the door. "Mom, we need to talk," Ethan said, his voice stiff. I let them in, partly to avoid a scene with the neighbors who were now peeking from behind their curtains. They arranged themselves in my living room like a panel of judges. Marissa's father spoke first. "Margaret," he always used my name like a formality, "we think you're making a rash decision. Family issues should be handled privately, without cutting financial ties." I folded my hands in my lap, my voice steady. "This is private. You're in my home, and this is my decision." Ethan's voice cracked. "Do you want me to lose the house? Is that what you're after?" I looked at him, my own son, and realized he still didn't see the truth, that this wasn't about the house. "This is about you locking me out of your life," I said softly, "and me finally locking you out of my wallet." Silence hung heavy in the room. Marissa's mother shifted uncomfortably. Marissa's father tried again, leaning forward. "If you stop now, we can put this behind us. No one has to know." That last part, "no one has to know," told me everything. They weren't just worried about losing the money, they were worried about losing their image. I stood. Meeting's over. Ethan's jaw tightened. "You'll regret this." I walked to the door and opened it wide. "The only regret I have is not doing it sooner." They filed out, their footsteps sharp against the pavement. Mini cliffhanger. I thought they'd leave me alone after that, but I underestimated how far they'd go when their comfort was on the line. It happened on a rainy Thursday evening. I was sitting by the window with a cup of tea when I saw Ethan's car pull into my driveway, alone this time. The windshield wipers were still swiping when he jumped out, slamming the door so hard it echoed across the yard. He didn't knock, he just burst in. "Mom, we need to end this now," he said, water dripping from his jacket onto my hardwood floor. His eyes were wild, a mix of desperation and fury. I stayed seated. "What exactly is this, Ethan? This game you're playing? You've made your point. Turn the payments back on, or we're done." I took a slow sip of tea before answering. "Ethan, we've been done since the day you decided your wife's comfort was worth more than your mother's dignity." He stepped closer, looming over me. "You don't understand. The bank is calling. We're behind. They could take the house." I looked up at him, calm as stone. "Then maybe you'll finally learn the difference between a home and a handout." His jaw clenched. "You're ruining our lives." I stood now, matching his height, my voice sharp but steady. "No, Ethan, I'm letting you live them without me funding every choice you make." For a moment, neither of us moved. Rain hammered the windows. His breathing was heavy, mine slow and even. Finally, I reached into the desk drawer and pulled out a small envelope. Inside was a single, signed document, the final legal paper transferring every asset in my trust to Lily. "This," I said, placing it on the table between us, "is the last piece. There's nothing left for you here." He stared at it, his face shifting from anger to something else, realization. "You've chosen her over me," he said bitterly. "I chose the person who chose me," I replied. Without another word, I walked to the front door, opened it, and stepped aside. He hesitated, but when I didn't move, he finally walked out into the rain. The sound of his footsteps on the wet pavement was the only thing I heard before the door clicked shut behind him. For a moment, I just stood there, the house silent except for the rain. Then I exhaled, slow, steady, and felt something I hadn't felt in years. Freedom, mini cliffhanger. Ethan was gone, but the ripples of what I'd done were only beginning to spread. It's been 6 months since that rainy night. The seasons have shifted. The bare trees outside my kitchen window are now thick with leaves, and my rose bushes bloom in colors so vivid they almost don't look real. These days, mornings are quiet in the best way possible. I brew my coffee, feed the cat, and sit on the porch with a book. The tension that once lived in my chest has loosened. I can breathe deeply without feeling like there's a stone pressing down on me. Ethan hasn't been to my house since that evening. In the weeks that followed, there were a few sporadic texts clipped, cold, more like status updates than attempts at reconciliation. Sold the house, moved into an apartment. Marissa picked up a job. The subtext was always the same. "Look what you've made us do." But I don't carry that weight anymore. I heard through Lily that the apartment is small and in a less than perfect neighborhood. Marissa hates it, and their marriage has been showing cracks. Whether those cracks will break them apart or make them stronger, I can't say, and honestly, it's no longer my business. What is my business is the way my own life has shifted. With the extra money, I'm no longer funneling into their expenses. I've made changes I never thought possible. I finally renovated my kitchen, not because it was falling apart, but because I wanted to. I signed up for a ceramics class at the community center, and for the first time in decades, I booked a solo trip to Italy for the fall. Lily and I have grown closer than ever. She comes over almost every Sunday, not out of obligation, but because she wants to. We cook together, laugh over silly videos, and sometimes just sit quietly with our tea. She asks for my advice, and I ask for hers. It's a two-way street now, built on mutual respect. The other day, she asked me if I'd ever forgive Ethan. I thought about it for a while before answering. "Forgiveness isn't a gift I hand out like a check," I told her. "It's something earned, piece by piece. Right now, he hasn't started earning it." She nodded, understanding more than I expected. "And if he never does," I smiled, my eyes on the roses swaying in the breeze, "then I'll still have a life I'm proud of." Sometimes at night, I replay the events in my mind. The locked door, the text message, the confrontation in the rain. And I realize, if I had given in at any point, I'd still be living in a quiet misery, funding a life where my value was measured in dollars. But I didn't. I took control. And in doing so, I learned that boundaries aren't walls to keep people out. They're gates that only open for those who truly value being inside. When you stop paying for love, you stop renting respect, and you start owning your peace. I know there are people who'll hear my story and think I was too harsh. But those people don't understand what it feels like to be erased from someone's life while still bankrolling it. They don't understand that money is replaceable, but dignity is not. 6 months later, I don't regret a single decision. Not the canceled payments, Not the updated will. Not even closing that door on my son. Because in the space that decision created, I've found something far more valuable than approval. I've found myself again.